today we are going to be doing some design work. It's not normally the schedule for this, but I've got to do the work, so I'm figured out let's just combine that with the stream. So it's the same project we worked on before, and the main couple of things that we need to do is I've spoken to the client and gotten some feedback of what the project needs to do, so we're going to just run through those kind of changes and implement them. Alright, so the main thing is actually to do with the, see, these are my notes from the meeting. Alright, and the main thing is actually to kind of, we need to design different spaces. So the design has actually changed, that these walkways in the back are now open, so are the stairs. And the reason for that is essentially for cost savings. So by making all these staircases open to the air, we can save a lot of money. So for today, we're going to be focusing on this kind of space here. And at the moment, it's a two-bedroom, it's a two-suite section, wing, with a duct in the middle. And oh, that message is not happening. Well, whatever. So I've just got some issues there with the chat. Okay, so we've got to kind of figure this out, and the main thing is that this space needs to be a separate two-bedroom family villa. And so in order to do that, we need to, the big thing is that we need to incorporate this design of a villa into this family villa. That's so weird. Oh, there we go. Right. So the big thing what's happening here is that, as you can see what I'm doing here now, is I'm basically just overlaying these two designs over each other. And excuse me, it's kind of creating thanks, Kira, the look that this is going to need, and saying, okay, well, if this is how it's designed, So the problem here already, if I just look at this, is that this is quite a long building. Yes. We don't have a lot of space. The client initially wanted to have one of these suites have a lounge as well as the bedroom. But if I just look at this length, like a lounge will at least double that, so it means it's gonna come to about here. And that's, it's actually very interesting because we've got a light pollution issue on the side here. It's really interesting, I'm not seeing any stream and bot stuff. Okay. All right, let's get going here. Sorry guys, got a bit of an issue here. I'm just sorting out the technicals. Just get rid of this. Cool. Okay, cool. All right, so we've got this building we need to design. This family villa, and at the moment we've got 2-bedroom suites that are designed, the typical bedroom suites, so they're the standard design. And they've got a certain width attached to them. We've got the bathrooms adjacent to each other. These are the 2 bathrooms. And then the bedroom, and then the kind of like a desk space, coffee station space on either side. So they're very small, they're about 60 squares for this. Client wants to add a family villa, a lounge space to this, kind of in the center maybe. And the problem with that is that now it's going to make this thing very long. And it's not just a lounge. They want to add a dining, kitchenette, plus a lounge space. And of course, when clients do stuff like that, they're not really thinking about how that affects the whole design. It's not really their job to. So the concern I'm having right now is you're going to have this really long, super long building. And is that something that you want? Probably not. It's with your living in the middle. So one option is you can put one building on top of another. It's not going to really work. It's funny, I thought this was going to be the easy part of the design, to just kind of bang this out as a family villa. Doesn't seem to be the case. All right. So, you've got the contours running here. They're kind of doing that. And you can see them. So we can move this down a bit, maybe more like that. So what I'm just switching on underneath is the original design. See, that's the original design. And so the current design, actually, in fact, this will follow the contours a bit better. In fact, we just have to move it. Yeah. I'm also looking at the site here and see where this building needs to go, because what's happening is I guess the lowest part of this building is about this line. So theoretically we could move this down more to maybe even there, and that means that we can make it longer. Not really any big trees here either. There's this tree here. That's definitely worth keeping. And then just do an adjustment to your sound. Okay, so yeah, I think we're gonna have to go down lower. It's the only way you're gonna be able to make it longer. Because if you keep it up here, it gets very close to this space here. Okay, so that's kind of what has to happen. I don't think the client will allow us to go for a two-story. They're not going to want that, because the idea of this design is that you just look at this perspective here, is that the top of this is all planted. So there's bushes and things, and then over the living area, what they do is you have a star bed. It's kind of the idea. Maybe that's actually also curved. And a staircase that goes up, put you onto the star bed. Yeah, I think we need to do that. Okay, so that makes the most sense. So if we go down, it'll be the best. Okay. So what I'm doing is by taking it lower down, it gives us more radius to play with. There's this tree here, so we could probably push it a bit. I don't want to go too far across, because there's another property on the far side. There's a property over here. I mean, it's really far away, but we can't pollute its light, so we need to be cognizant of that when positioning this element. Yeah, that makes sense to me. In fact, maybe this tree is the left anchor of the site. Yeah. So we go around like that. Just graying this out the background so that it doesn't overpower my thinking. Okay, so we've got that. So we're going to use this tree on our left as the anchor for the building, and then we're going to go around from there. Alright, and how we do this design is, so we've gone through quite a couple of concepts that we've discussed in architecture, like access, threshold, light. So we're just going to kind of expand on that quite quickly on this. So the first thing is that we're going to create two wings. So when you enter into the building, you'll have your public space, and then off that you'll have your two private wings. And you do it off the center because then, for example, you don't have the feeling of like a house, a master suite, or a bedroom past another bedroom. You don't walk past the bedroom to get, let's say for example this is a bedroom and that's a bedroom. You don't walk past this bedroom to get to this one. It adds another layer of isolation and privacy. So the central space is going to be our main focus for today. And also what it means is, because the two bedrooms aren't going to be next to each other, we'll flip the design. So at the moment, that is the design, and we've got the bedroom, the bathroom in the center, and the coffee station like on the outside. And we're going to change that because the coffee station, because the duct in the center won't work, because the bedrooms aren't touching each other, because there's essentially the duct we're going to expand to make with the living spaces. And because that then means that, and we want to have access to this duct from the outside, so you want to put your duct essentially on the outside of the building. So these units are going to flip. We'll do the same for both sides. So this will be a duct here. It's not efficient to do it this way. It costs more, essentially, but it's the best way to do it in this kind of situation, because it means that your duct isn't Oh, hold on, actually, we've got... What is nice about having the duct in the middle is that it means that it's a good sound barrier. And because we need to have a kitchen, you know, maybe the kitchen is on this side here, and then that means we can use this duct to kind of feed this kitchen. It depends on how the space is designed. So we'll look at this. These bedrooms can flip depending. All right, let's look at how we're gonna do this. So you come along here, and then you're walking down. The central space. So actually, part of the reason why I started streaming is because I tend to, when I'm designing, talk out loud, which is why the music isn't very loud, because it distracts me. I need to hear myself, hear my thoughts come out loud. I kind of want to mimic what's happening here, and that is that you almost go into an underground, it's not really underground, but you've got like a retaining wall with like with a shading on top, and then your building starts. And the reason you do that is that you don't have a direct access or view to... I'm just going to fade this out. Right. And the first thing when you're designing these kinds of spaces is that you kind of want to understand the relationships between the different entities. So where, for example, where you want to put stuff. So, I mean, I think this entrance, this being this goes up to the spa. I don't think that's actually what I want. I think if anything, you probably want to come off there and kind of follow the contour, maybe from here even. Follow the contour. Doing a path on a contour line is much cheaper than doing it on like across a contour. And you need stairs and ramps and stuff, whereas if you just follow the contour line, you're just following the height that's already there for you, and you can just kind of cast slabs or whatever. So I think that's actually what needs to happen here, so we probably need to do something like that. I mean, we can also come from off this. It might be better actually. And the reason I say it's better is because what you're doing is you're establishing a hierarchy between how you connect to this this walkway that links to the main villa, the family villa. Is that if you come off this reception platform space, it means that you're going to it breaks the idea of a threshold. So because you're not going directly, you're going directly from a very public space to a very private space, whereas if you come off this walkway, you're adding another threshold, which is over there and over there. So you're actually making it appear more private, which is what you want for a suite. So that's probably be steps. That's a win. And then for this, I want to create this outdoor lobby space, this is what this is. And then maybe what happens, no, you won't have a wall there, you'll have probably planting or something. And then you want to enter, and where you enter will be determined by this space, this new living space. And so I'm just kind of blocking out kind of forms. So at the moment this would be your lounge space. Your walkways would be around the back. So your walkway to your bedroom, and your bedroom will be around the back. Maybe you want your kitchen over here. So services spaces are really good at the back of a room where there's no direct light, because you don't want direct light in them. So like a kitchen or a bathroom, because it creates glare. So this idea of having the duct on the side is not going to work. We'll have some form of a duct here, I think. It's a problem because our plumbing line will run in the front of the building. It's because of the slope of the how plumbing works is you always go from a high point to a low point as much as possible. So if your toilet is kind of here, you want the pipe to come out and just naturally just follow the fall of the slope. And the reason you do that is so that it doesn't gather in a certain point, and if it does gather, you'll have to pump it out again. So you need that effluent to move naturally, and that's why you'll find that generally how plumbing works in a city is that it follows the road, always going downhill, and then at a certain point it'll reach a gathering point, and then from there it could be pumped up to where it needs to go. That's why planning cities are so difficult. It's not actually to do with the grids or anything like that, or size of blocks or anything. It's actually to do with services. The servicing of it is very difficult, tricky to get right. Okay, so I think what happens now is that you're gonna, maybe this is glass, and you can, so your walkway is kind of around the back, and then this kitchenette space can be part of that, and then you want your dining space front. I'm not drawing to scale, so it's not, in fact this only used to be 5 people, so this is a 5-person, so what we'll do is we'll just go for 6 then, because 5 is just weird. Don't really get like a 5-man table or anything like that. It's generally 6. And in the lounge, you probably have your couch, like an armchair, and then wall unit. Table. Might be wondering why I'm designing in red. Ugh. Why not? Ooh. Oh, that's cool. So, one of the big design changes that came out of our meeting yesterday was that the back of the building needs to be, the access to the building can be open air. And what that means is that it doesn't have a roof on it. So if I draw a section of it, slicing through the building, then we still want plants and things on top of this roof. So you still have to bury the building in, but if you make a retaining wall over here, which holds back all of this soil, then you can have your plants and things on top here, and this is where your room actually is. And there's plants and things on top here, and you access through here. Not that area. You just access through here, and then what that means essentially is that we can have ventilation through this, and we can create like windows and bricks and things at the top here, air bricks, so that there's always circulation moving through. And this space back here will actually get quite hot because it's north facing, and the sun will hit this back wall, and this back wall will essentially bake, and then this whole space will get very hot and very uncomfortable. So we need to create some kind of shading on top here to protect this wall. Maybe it's movable so that in winter it does get hot and it does bake, and you can kind of heat the space with this heat over here. That's maybe an option. And because it's shading, that's a good idea. I could talk about shading. because it does bake, comes from the north, the light, so you have to create a certain angle of shading that prevents the sun from entering, so the angle of that shading would be like that, essentially. It's always perpendicular to the light source. And then a person can kind of stand there and turn. Maybe add a water feature here. Okay, it's pretty interesting. Plants and things. So what I'm essentially saying is that we want to create, so that's the existing design, or that's what the design's here on the side. And you almost want to create a similar kind of look and feel for this suite over here. So they all kind of speak the same design language. That's another talk that I think it was on Light, where I spoke about, yeah, it was Light, where I spoke about design language. I think that's also worth having a stream about. And basically that's just creating a consistency of language. Or if you see someone walking past, that's just my girlfriend. I don't have, streaming from home doesn't have the luxury of having a home space, I mean office, dedicated office space. So what I'm just looking at here now is how to create this outdoor walkway space. So the whole back of the building kind of has that walkway space, and you go from the inside to the outside. So from your room to your living space, you walk around the outside, but it's protected outside. You've got that eraser is massive. Okay, let's just keep that actually, and we'll just layer it on top. So the question then is, if you're going to have your bedroom space like that, your access is around the outside. The problem with the access around the outside, it means then that let's say you're in your bedroom and you want to go to your lounge, you have to walk around the outside. That doesn't really make sense. Maybe these are just courtyard spaces. Yeah, actually that's probably what it needs to be. So it's got no pool. So there's quite a lot of how it's happening at the moment. I'm just kind of running through it as I see it happening, evolving. So I think it makes sense to continue this courtyard space. Maybe enter along this wall. Sky bed is front. So I just looked at this over here, and what's happening is that I need to, I want to enter between the dining room space and the lounge. I want to enter in there essentially. And because this building is retaining, all of this is soil, essentially. It means that you have to get in and under. So if your building is here, you know, you have to get down to the right level so that you can enter into the building, because it's cut into the ground and you're coming from the top. Unless this is courtyard is how you entered. Oh. What if you entered like that? Each contour represents 500 mils in height. So essentially from here to here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 meters. This tree would make a very beautiful feature to come through. I just don't know if I like the idea of walking past a bedroom to go inside. But you don't know it's a bedroom. That's the cool thing. That's the front of it. I gotta say, it's quite tricky to talk and design at the same time in terms of kind of explain what I'm doing, because a lot of it is just kind of half-baked ideas. So at the moment I'm kind of looking at how do you enter this building, and the contours are actually informing my decision. So you'll see the contours are here, and I'm thinking what's the best way to make sure that you enter this building and don't feel like you're entering. Like if you look at a building, it's never nice entering it on the short axis. Like it makes sense kind of you entering a church maybe, because it's got this whole actual view thing going on, and it's got, you know, different thresholds and spaces that you're moving through. But entering on the back along this thing, It's quite awkward. At least it feels quite awkward to me because you're now walking past all these spaces as you're going through. But I think the thing is also to know is that if you don't see a lot of it, then it's actually quite interesting. It's different. It's not so obvious. It's not the done thing. So let's just become aware of how to do it successfully. I think, like if you look at any kind of building that you enter, you generally kind of enter it along the front, the main, it's very symmetrical type buildings generally have that. Where you enter on the front, the center, it faces you. Whereas this thing, the building is, and you're entering it over there. And there's ground that comes here. And your retaining wall is doing that. It's kind of cool actually. I've been working through Scott Robertson's How to Draw book and finding quite a big difference in my sketching ability. More to do with the actual line accuracy that you can create when you've kind of practiced drawing a bit more than just your everyday sketching. And so this is where the tree is. That's pretty much what we're creating here. It's actually quite cool. Maybe not such a bad thing. So the strength of going along this route here is that you're creating this very intense tunnel effect. This over here. As you're entering through here, you've got these very high walls. On either side of you, and your building is kind of moving around and through that kind of very high space. And as that's happening, you're being led through this quite a mazy type space. And you've you've got earth high above you. These are going to be rammed earth walls on the sides, and it kind of means that, and we'll put some kind of shading on top, so it'll be shaded inside here. And what that does essentially is you're creating these very rich kind of threshold spaces, threshold that moves you through into the actual arrival space. So that's what this is here. You notice that a lot of these decisions kind of stack on top of each other, so you'll make one decision. So for example, having the living space in the center, and how that then starts having these repercussions. And you ask yourself, well, maybe the entrance arrival space needs to be here, the living space. And yeah, it could theoretically be on the side. You could then enter through the front, maybe even come through here. It would change the whole building experience. But what's always nice is when you coming through a space, like you're coming through this and then around the back, and then when you walk through the front again, you just walk through here. Let's get rid of this. It means that your senses have been deprived, as you've lost, you've been sensitized to the light, to the view, and so I'm just drawing these as squares at the moment, but they will obviously be curved. And so when you come out here on your deck, it means that your view is again emphasized. Yeah, it kind of makes sense to go around the back. We'll propose that for now and see what happens. Also, what that means is that if you're coming around the back, it means that you're duplicating functions. So where before this is going to be a courtyard to let light in, like this drawing over here. Now it can actually act as the entrance space, and maybe this is the child suite. The child suite doesn't have to be as prestigious as the master suite, and this can be the master. And so if that's the case, that means that we can put a wall here essentially as a terminating factor. So you'll walk in here, you'll walk in here, and then we'll make this our kitchen. I've recently just designed a kitchenette for a family villa that was too small. There was a lot of reasons. It was mainly to do with budget, and we had to reduce the size of the kitchenette, and it became very difficult, very challenging to offer the kind of guest experience that people kind of want. Hey Fuxia, how you doing? No problem. I am doing a design session, so I'm actually going to be streaming for quite a while, so don't worry about it. The topic today it's not an actual topic, it's a design session. So I've got a real world project. Actually zoom out here quickly. It's a lodge on a mountain. I can actually let me get a view quickly of what this thing looks like on a mountain. I've got some photos. but the big thing is that I need to change it, the design. So stay along and let me just actually get this image open for you. I think it'll be cool to see. Cool. It's coming. Where did that go now? It's so random. Let me just quickly add a view here quick. How are you today, Fuxia? Well done on your submission, eh? It was really well done. Just quickly going to overlay this quick. So this is the actual site. Whoa, what the hell? Okay, I'll just show it like that. And so you see there's this big hill on the right here. This is where the project is on. So this top point over here is it's kind of that over there. Yeah, the colors are actually super interesting. The ground is clay, lots of red clay, and as you can see, this is like drone footage. And this is a sky view from the top. And if I if I just kind of zoom in, you'll see this road here. That road is this one over here, kind of ends over there. Oh. So it's over here, it kind of ends over there. So I haven't done it like this before, so it's a bit of photos and stuff. I know it's a very, very cool project. And you'll see kind of is it this way? There, you can kind of see. Pretty epic, huh? Yeah, so the lodge is just down here essentially, and we're busy trying to figure out how to make it work with the clients. Yeah, the view's ridiculous, and yeah, we're trying to kind of see how we're going to make it work because their needs and wants have changed. So at the moment, I'm busy designing. At the moment, it's got we've got 4 bedrooms on the side over here, a master suite over here. We've got a living space at the bottom here. And I mean, these are big here. These are they've got their own bathroom. So there's 4 bathrooms, 1 bathroom for each of these suites. And if I zoom in at the actual bathroom, you can maybe see a bit better. You've got your bed, your bath, showers, cubicle for your bath, toilets, and your basins. Behind the bed you've got your cupboards, and then on the side here you've got your coffee station, desk, that kind of thing set up. And all of this looks onto that view. And the cool thing is that the building has got these tiers. So what happens is that this is lower than this, so each of the tiers kind of look over each other. So the roof of the one tier is the floor of the next. So it does that. So this tier looks over this one, and then the next tier does the same. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Thanks. You kind of took me out of my I was in a bit of a energy low point, so you brought me back. And what I'm doing right now is so that's the main lodge, but there's another lodge, another kind of suite that's to the side, that's running over there, and that's what I'm designing over here. And the reason I'm designing it is because the client wants to change it. So at the moment it's only got 2 bedrooms. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it. At the moment, it's only got 2 bedrooms. At the moment, it looks like that. So you can see it's got it's a bigger bedroom suite. It's got, you know, the bedroom, walk-in cupboard, massive bathroom, lounge, and then the staircase that goes up to a star deck. So on top of these, what's going on here? On top of these roofs, they actually wanted to have, not these roofs, sorry. Whatever, yeah, I guess it is these roofs. On top of these roofs, they wanted to put a star bed. So if your roof is like this, you've got a staircase that takes you up, and then from there, you've got a bed that's on the roof, and the roofs are planted so there's just greenery around you, and hopefully you don't get eaten by leopards. And then on this bed, you can have a sleep with your partner, and you can look up at the stars. That's kind of the idea. But right now I've got to figure this thing out, because what's happening is it's so is that this I'm just like figuring out how this entrance works, how you'll come into this villa, and the main reason is because I want to it's kind of these sketches maybe show is that I want to kind of enter on a low, so this is the slope of the site, and so you cut into the slope with the walls, these retaining walls, and then you walk through, and then you enter the building from the back. So you come from the front where it's level, and then you come through the back, and so you'll have like these 2 retaining walls, probably much something like that. And what that's doing is you're creating this very narrow kind of space, very small space, and so that when you walking through all along this, you can see there's just all walls. I'll have to ignore this. You're getting like sensory deprivation, and then when you open up the door, it enhances the view essentially. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm working on now, and I think that's pretty much the approach I want to take. And then maybe what happens is that, like when you're walking along here, it's open to the sky, and then that is exactly it, Foxia. I'm just gonna make this a bit wider. You get blasted in the face because the issue is that you know, when you've arrived. So you drive up this road, and you get to the top here, and then you walk along this reception deck, and then you get to the top here, you see the view already. Boom, there's the view. And so you need to kind of you need to re-emphasize it. So you need to have it removed so that you don't get used to it again. And then from there you get to re-experience the view, and this time it'll be from a different angle, so that'll be cool. And then you do the same, so once you enter into this main living space, you have that, and then from there you go into the bedrooms, and then the same thing happens again. It's not at the same level, but so what I've shown here is you're walking around the back, so the back of the room will be your circulation, and then you come through the front, and as you open this door, you'll have the same kind of experience again. And so your whole bedroom, because what's happening here is that I've created this kind of lobby space over here. So you enter into the lobby space, and then you open the door. And the reason you do that is because if you think of like a corridor, there's almost nothing worse than having a door at the end of the corridor. If you compare that to, for instance, let's say, yeah, glad you agree. Let's say you have instead like a table with some flowers and a painting. You know, you make this a feature wall, and you maybe use some nice wallpaper, Yeah, exactly. So what you do is you create this lobby space so that you can put some kind of furniture or something there, and then you have the door to the side. And also what that does is that it creates this kind of private lobby space as well, so that as you walk across this kind of entrance here, let me just change color a bit. As you come across here, this is already kind of part of the bedroom, and so opening the door is just another level of going into the bedroom. Also, that means that if you're opening the door, the chances of you, like if you put the door here, for instance, how bad that would be, or if you put the door here, the best place is here because you don't see it. It's just like this private space that you create. Yeah, exactly. That's a very this green framing is a very new thing that's happening all the time. Yeah, yeah, exactly. The thing with the vegetation wall though is that they're quite. That's actually a good topic to talk about. Thanks. As I'm talking, I'm making notes of what I can talk about. So, for example, we'll do a topic on green walls. So, thanks for that. Fuxia. Um, so what I'm looking at now is that you kind of create this lobby space, and then we can maybe do something there. Maybe it's a frosted glass window even. That'll also work with your door opening here. Put our coffee station over here. We'll put our cupboards back here, and then your bathroom will be here. And your bed will probably be somewhere like this. What's quite interesting with lodges, which is different to like a normal bedroom, is that with a normal bedroom, you put your bed against the wall. So here what you would have done is you probably would have put your bedroom kind of here, your bed against there. Yeah, so good spot. Firstly, it being Africa, there isn't a lot of water, so that's a bit of a problem. But this site has a water issues, water supply issue, in the sense that there was a certain amount of guests or suites that we were going to put here, and then they saw how much water is actually available here, and then they reduced it because it was the lodge couldn't the amount of water in this site couldn't accommodate that amount of people. What they have done though is they've built this. This is a water hole that they're going to build, and so animals will come in at night and kind of drink here. So it's artificial, and it means that these guys always will have a lot of animals coming to the actual lodge. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. The but like I mentioned, the water is an issue. So I think what we are doing though is we're going to um, hmm, that's actually super interesting that you're mentioning that. How do you contrast that? I mean, there is the use of light and air, so we're going to be using light and air to kind of contrast it. But maybe, like you're saying, okay, let's say we want to add some water to this. So what then we could do is, so let's say you're going into this really dark kind of canyon space that we're creating. I need something over here, essentially. It's exactly the same concept as what we did in the bedroom. Like, how do we make this element, this wall, look interesting? And maybe this wall has got a water feature on it. And maybe it's got plants. No one needs to apologize. So maybe what that facade has is, so your door to the actual suite is like here. Maybe it's So what these walls on the side are going to be rammed earth walls. I don't know if you know what that looks like, but it's got, so they take, well, that's another topic. So what they do is you build these shutters out of timber, and then you put soil in with like it's got a mixture of soil and concrete or cement, and then they compact it with these rammers, and then they add a bit more soil and they do the same, they compact it, and they keep doing that, and every soil mixture is a little bit different, so it creates these kind of lines inside the soil once you've removed the shuttering, and maybe there's like vegetation that hangs off that. But again, you know, this is Africa. We don't really get kind of in the south. You know, it's like savanna, so you don't really get like lush greenery hanging. You know, we're three quarters of the year it's not raining. It's just dry. But you see how kind of cool that is looking, hey? What do you think of that, Fuchsia? Is that looking interesting to you? And maybe we've got... Oh, I see this here. We'll have to have some kind of air bricks. Yeah, no, it's Africa, man. It's dry. Obviously not Central Africa, that's just tropical and rains all the time. Where are you based again, Fuchsia? I seem to remember East Europe somewhere. Is that right? Yeah, Romania. Okay, cool. Does Fuchsia mean anything, or is it just just a cool name that you like? Yeah, the door there doesn't work. See, this is quite interesting, is that you do this and you kind of realize that the doorway doesn't actually work. So, yeah, fuchsia. Is that actually what your name is? Fuchsia, not fuchsia. Are you like super into pink? Is that one of your favorite colors? Super pink! Hilarious. Okay. Fuchsia. Oh, cool. Sorry, I just realizing something as I'm doodling here. I had a thing for pink. Sounds like you had a super crush on pink. Why is that, eh? It's like indoctrination or something. So, I'm just gonna add a brainwave here. Yeah. So this is like the kitchenette space. I think the question to ask is food service. So, what I've got here at the moment is, so I've got this wall here of the door that opens up into I gotta say, I've been working on the Scott Robinson How to Draw series. Yeah, I agree. I've been actually wanting to make my logo have like some kind of a pink in it. I don't have a logo at the moment. At the moment, it's just that's kind of the logo. It's just a word. And I've done like I don't know many pages of iteration. The problem is that I don't know if you feel this, but it's so hard to brand yourself because you're not branding yourself for yourself. You're branding yourself for your customers. And how do you like know what your customers find appealing? Yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking. Is that you have this, and you can have this in different colors, but like a Andy Warhol vibe. Can you hear the music? Was it like quite soft for you? I was just saying I was working through the Scott Robinson book. Uh, Black ink in a stamp brush aesthetic. Yeah. So just kind of use the words. Hey. The problem is, so saber it's an antelope, and it's famous for having these really hardcore horns, like scimitars. Um, and so they're actually, the reason I picked the name is because they're famous for being very courageous. They're known to like kill lions even, um, like when defending themselves. So they've got these freaking horns are just ridiculous. But my partner keeps saying, my girlfriend keeps saying to me, don't use, like if you're going to use a logo, don't make it the same as the name. Like make it a bit more interesting. Yeah. So, and I agree with her. I think if you're going to do something with the logo, it's got to be a bit more unique than just the name. If you're going to go out of the way of making like an icon, if there was something on the side here that kind of did something, maybe the two are together, the full logo, and you've got the type logo, and you've got the mark logo. But I don't know what that mark logo is and if it's even necessary. The more I think about it, the more, if you like look at the kind of brands that the rich and famous use, and like if you look at like Dolce and Gabbana or Burberry or any of these kind of luxury brands, Louis Vuitton. I guess Louis Vuitton has got that LV logo. It's very ugly. A lot of them are actually just text. Yeah, I would say, not sometimes, fuchsia. I would say pretty much always. Um, yeah. So this kitchenette, what I was going to say about this aha moment was this walkway dimension is probably going to be around 1.8, maybe 1.6. And wide, the width of it. And the kitchen cupboard, I didn't want to make this feel like like a kitchen like that. So what I did is I instead put a duct behind it, a courtyard. And that means that all your plumbing and things can go into this, but also it means that light will come in. Because it's a courtyard, light will hit that and go into the actual room. If your cupboard is here, the kitchen. Can I ask you a question? If I draw this, this like side through the section view, you know, something like this. Do you understand that? Does that make sense to you? And if I said to you this was the courtyard and like a guy stands here. You know, and I say to you, you know, light comes in from the side. We've got plants and things. No, it's not a facade. It's actually, if you have your building like this box, what we're actually doing is we're cutting through it a view. So it's at an angle, and then we're making that flat. You see, I've got to do a talk on this, man. Ah, yeah. See, that's the thing, is that if I draw a box, like, you get it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do a stream on different drawings, because I talk a lot about like elevations, and so what you mentioned, a facade elevation, that would be essentially this front side. So if I looked at it from here, that's an elevation, that's the facade. If I looked at it from here, or from the back, or from the side, and then if you take a line and you cut it like that, and you look down, that's called a plan. So that's the plan, that's the section, and that's the facade. The word we actually use is elevation. So, okay, well, that's another topic. Cool. Have you have you tried Scott Robinson's drawings? His kind of tutorial. Yeah, you are. Thanks, Fuxia. What did you think of it? And when did you do it? I'm glad it's not just me. I've got another book. I can't see it now. Me. It's called Rapid Viz. I don't know if you know what it's. If you've seen that before. It's for designers essentially, and it's about quickly taking your ideas and putting it onto paper. Ooh, hectic. What was that book that you found that was easier? Like I'm only in the beginning of this book. I've only just gotten to the, you know, when he does the perspective technique, where you find the middle point and you find the next one in the foreshortening series. Draw a box series. Never heard of it. Is that who's that? Is that online or YouTube or? Never heard of these guys. Is it free? Drawbox. Oh. So Peter Han and wow. So I had a conversation with a lecturer of mine who teaches. Or he was a lecturer of mine when I was at varsity, and he teaches. No, I'm sure, hey. And he teaches. So I'll tell you about South Africa. This bit of context might be necessary if you're interested, obviously. So just tell me if you're not. Um, okay. Cool. So South Africa's got really high data charges, fees, like insane. Like if you compare it to a global amount, it's just really expensive, especially mobile data. And most of our population doesn't have access to fiber internet or wide internet, DSL, or even telephones. Most people only have access um, to mobile mobile internet, and we don't have like a pay X amount and get unlimited data or anything like that. It's like I don't know. It's just really expensive, and because most of our population um, doesn't have a steady income or doesn't have a good income, um, it means that people don't have access to internet essentially, and so my lecturer or ex-lecturer is teaching this online course. Well, it's not online course. He's teaching it's a because of the lockdown, the university courses are still carrying on, but now they have to make the courses in such a way and simplify it so much that people don't have to spend a lot of money on data. And what that means is that they essentially get very bad education. Like if you imagine now, you have to like learn how to do anything, and you didn't have YouTube. You only had like PowerPoint presentations that taught you how to do it, and it wasn't even like the best guys in the world like we have now access to because of YouTube and whatever. You've got like some B grade, not B grade, but like it's not their strong point. Like this lecturer of mine, I need to be careful how I say this. um, he's a very good lecturer, but his skill strength doesn't lie in my opinion doesn't lie in teaching people how to do 1 point perspective or 2 point perspective or whatever. And it's not because he can't do it or wasn't good at it. It's because it's such a complex thing, and now you have to try and teach it over PowerPoint. Um, now you like if I was to now try and teach it over PowerPoint, I would struggle my ass off to try and do it because it's such a complex subject matter. Um, and he has to do this, and so now these students are learning these courses, but they're not getting what they should be getting, and it's bull actually. It's completely unfair. Um, that was what I was going to say. It makes me very sad because it doesn't have to be that way. Okay, I think I've got this kind of jacked designed. All right, fuchsia. So get this one. Okay, the next thing we need to kind of design is yeah, you mentioned that you did architecture school. Yeah, like if I think of how long it took me to learn perspective, I think it was a painting I did in grade 11. That was kind of the start of it, and it's super tough. I mean, I'm still like there's still things that I'm like, oh, geez, like the ellipse and the minor axis thing, I only learned that I heard of it for the first time like a week ago, with Bjorn's rock orc painting, and and yeah, it was I learned it from Rollermancer. Actually, he explained it to me, and then I was like, oh, I need to figure out what this is. There's some gaps in my perspective knowledge, and I thought I was actually pretty good at perspective. I've got like I think like a natural understanding of it, maybe, if I compare it to like my sister or maybe other people. But there was this thing that I just, I mean, I understand, like you kind of, I can draw it and go, okay, cool, that looks about in perspective, but I didn't understand why it looked in perspective. Yeah, it does, very much so. Okay, Fuchsia, let's get focused here. Sorry, we need to bang this one out here as well. So what I need to do for this study is that it's too small. It needs to have this kind of a lounge space to it. So, so this design isn't kind of fixed, there's mobility to this design. And I need to make more space, essentially. And so what I'm doing now is that I was looking earlier and I was saying this bar is way too big. If you just look at it compared to, this is a massive table, and just say, okay, this bar is as big as this table, it's too large. And if you think of like drinks linking very well together, so if like your bar and your wines, this is like a wine store, or your cellar, probably, that's what you can call it. It also makes a lot of sense to be like in the back of the building, so this is all ground. So to have it at the back here, and then want to have this kitchen open. So maybe, I don't know if this is going to work. Is there something you want me to talk about, Fuchsia, specifically? Okay, so what I want to do here, I'm going to make this a bit bigger. I'm going to take the line to about there. I gotta say, beyond multitasking and drawing while talking is super impressive. I find it very tricky. So, for those who are just lurking a little bit, I just want to give you some background to what's happening. Right now I'm busy. I've got this project and I need to reconfigure things so that it suits what the client wants. And they requested, so there's this study wine area here on the side. And it was, what you said was that, and the wine is basically just a wine cellar, but like a modern day one, so not deep basement with frescoes on the wall and Spanish paintings, Spanish styling, not one of those with candle lights. This will be one of those modern slick glass ones. Yeah, it's all good, Fuchsia. Do your thing. But it is good to see you and good to chat with you. Thank you very much for popping in, Fuchsia. Always good to have someone kind of hang out for a bit. If you have to go, then No worries. Have a fantastic day. So you'll see me, I'm just kind of making these marks. Ah, pleasure, Fuchsia. Absolute pleasure. I'm just kind of making these marks, and it's because I'm trying to understand what this space kind of needs. So this lounge will need some kind of hard wall. With like cupboards and things on it, so that is a bit of a feature. And maybe there's this, you don't want a glass element here actually, you want this to be solid. So you probably want your study entrance to be on the side here. And yeah, that's actually looking pretty big, eh? So the function of this room is firstly as a study, but also as a library, but also as a kind of place to dump kids so they can like watch TV or something, maybe animal videos, while the parents, I don't know, do what parents do. You'll see I'm just kind of changing where the entrance is here, maybe on the side. And what's happening is, because if you look at a room, generally you put furniture on the walls, against walls, so the walls will kind of have furniture on it, and you'll enter into the center of the room. Like a bathroom is a very good example of that. Everything that's in a bathroom has to be on a wall. And so if you enter on a wall, essentially you can't use this wall anymore for basins or toilets or showers or anything like that. Whereas if you put it in the center, your entrance to that bathroom space, it means that all of the walls become usable, so you can use all of this. And this study space has got a similar kind of function, is that you actually want to enter a little bit off the wall, this wall here, so that you can put maybe a couch here, and maybe like a couch here, or maybe a desk is here. So the view is this way, so you want to have this as glass. So that can be glass. And then maybe this is like a built-in couch. I love the idea of built-in couches. They just make me like really happy, because it's like very cozy almost, and they're very cheap to build compared to a real couch. Oh, you can put the bookshelf here. So right now I'm kind of looking at where to put what. So if our entrance is here, you probably want your seating to do that. And then you probably want your table to do that. Or maybe your table is just that, so you can have like a chair there. Maybe 2 chairs. And maybe there's like a projector or something on the side here that kind of displays onto this wall. Yeah, I guess the couch kind of makes sense. So if that's your room, your view is out that way, your door's here. So if your table kind of wraps around, maybe what happens is your chairs can kind of be here. You'll notice I'm not drawing very accurately, it's just kind of testing out ideas. So this is all glass, and here will be your kind of couch. Oh, you know what, we'll make this a cupboard. And then you'll maybe this is your couch here. Oh, you want to enter from here. Okay, so have your couch here, furniture piece there, table all along here. So in a study, you normally don't want your, if your desk is like this and your computer screen is like that, you don't want your light source or your window to be in front or behind you. You always want it from the side, so perpendicular to your screen, otherwise you'll get glare on your screen. So actually you want your screen to be here. Like you imagine in your mind it'll be cool to like have your TV screen or your computer screen and then be able to look outside around that. And it is cool for a short amount of time, but anything too intense will just kind of break your vision, your eyes. I think there should be two of these. Oh, maybe this becomes the media center. So the media center, oh, it will be the media center. And this can be class. If you guys got any questions, feel free to ask. If something isn't clear. So the purpose of the stream is kind of to understand architecture, and so we've got some. You'll see this the kind of the typical kind of design drawings that happen when you're doing architecture. You've got these little doodles where you're trying to understand a space that you're designing in plan, and that's what this is over here. Is a plan. Yeah, and a plan is a view from of a building. Like if you cut through it, you look down from the top down at it. probably make this a bit bigger even. Will that give us anything more? Still needs to be here. I can always go bigger. No reason it has to be a straight line. Okay, maybe the wine cellar's on this side. I don't know. And what if the cellar's behind? I mean, the cellar. You want wine bowls? Light. Maybe a bit of light. Bar needs, it's 900 plus 1.4 plus 600. That is 2 meters, 2.9. Oh, that's what that line is there. I don't think the wine cellar at the back is going to work. Need to enter there. Needs to be a door here. For argument's sake, the door could be here. I'm kind of bouncing around a bit here because I'm looking at this space, this bar and wine cellar space, because we've created a bigger study do you even need a wine cellar? Can't this be a wine cellar? No, you want temperature controlled. So this kitchen is it's an open kitchen, but like an open kitchen, you don't like want everything on display, obviously. There's only certain sections that you actually have on display. And generally that's to do with prep and cooking. You don't do washing, storage. Those are not on display. Okay, I'm gonna put the one C stop bar here. One stop. Okay, cool. We've kind of designed the study, and the next big thing is kind of the kitchen, but we're going to leave that for now because I need to take a break. So thanks for watching. We'll be taking a break and coming back shortly. Probably the next half an hour or so. Actually, in fact, I'll probably leave the kitchen for now because the kitchen is quite a tricky space to design. It's not so simple. And we'll probably come back to the spa first. Understand what that's all about. We'll probably see you in about an hour's time. So take it easy and we'll see you shortly. Cheers.